Well, technically, good enough on the NASDAQ. Sellers will be trying to build up in the 35s or so. First pulse down for sellers to grab just a bit of scalping action on the NASDAQ back down. Secondary objectives, though, are going to be further towards like the low 20s. Sellers pressuring back, more scalping opportunities, but haven't gotten that breakaway move yet. Are you serious, gold? Like, that's the game that it wants to play, huh? Really, gold? 36.1. Oh, man. You spicy little thing. Okay. Okay. No, that's fine. Ay, ay, ay. Gold, you vindictive thing. Taking notes from the index markets. This whole wick area up at the top is a zone of potential resistance to push back on. I've already scalped out of a couple of the bounces back and forth, a little jostling. It looks like they're trying to pressure back up in to retest the 860s or so. Should make sense. That's the POC. Hasn't quite made it yet. Oof. Okay. We got some heavy candles coming in on that. Back up into the 60s. Did they hit 60? Oh, they went 59.75. What kind of Walmart 999.99 special crap is that? Man. All right. And gold just a skosh. Can they get the test to 60 this time? They made it a tick away. There we go. Now actually testing into the 60s. Bulls closing back up. Now, if they're going to close back above the 860s and pressure this up, 882.75 is the next zone. If that's the case, my average is in kind of a detrimental spot. So we'll have to play that a little bit differently now. Once we start breaking above the highs, if they pulse above the 80s, then I'll start to jostle a little bit back and forth. Nice thing is, though, the S&P would be the hedge market, which I really don't consider the S&P to be a hedge market. Man, gold. Oh, that's some salt in the wound. All right, well, I missed gold. I didn't get the fill by a tick. Say la vie. The last build and volume point was around the 849s, which isn't really a surprise. We saw them get stuck there for a while. So if they're going to double break above it, this is a roundabout doubling up. Just kind of back to those previous wick tops. I'm still looking for a potential longer term failure for this for the short, but my average, I would like it to be a little bit further up now if I could. S&P, what was that, a double bottom? Yeah, to the tick double bottom at 57.75. Well, if they fall from here, they really didn't give me a chance to do much. I mean, the downside objectives would be towards like the 27 30s, 27s in that area. Roundabout. Oh man, gold. Oh, I'm gonna have to start front running myself. It's hard to see the downside objective from the 5-minute chart, but if you look at the 15-minute chart, this is the first initial area of interest with the POC shift back to the downside to at least retest back down to like the 35s, but potentially down towards the 60s and get a retest of the lows. Remember, we're in a sideways consolidated phase now. We've already completed the 5-wave move lower. It is likely that eventually they'll work their way up towards the L2, which is where it becomes much more interesting. But in the short term, we're still stuck inside this wedge. Got under a minute for this candle to close. Gold is back up to the top. Ugh. I'll accept the loss on the initial position on this pullback because, again, I'm trying to get my average in a more favorable point so we can get, a 2-to-1, 3-to-1 move back to the lows to get it to fit. If the S&P can get just a bit more bullish continuation, we may have an opportunity for a potential hedge. But I really need to see it break through like the 74s, get above those highs as some proof, like show they can actually manage to do something here. Gold breaking up to almost a new high. It's still not quite there yet. We got 4 minutes until Powell is on the mic. Otherwise, here it sits. Gold never broke the high? Wow. It's got its vindictive pants on today. Well, I wasn't really able to do a whole lot with my average on that, but at the moment, I would still like to see if we can get a dive down to like the 36s or so initially, and then follow through for a larger move down, a much larger move down. The potential on this is quite big. Again, my average still isn't in a super favorable position, which is why I'm not doing much right now. I would really like to have my average up in the 65s or something, but if they are going to push down through like the 36s, 37s, then fine. I'll start exiting a couple at a scalper's target and then see if we can stretch them out for the 2s and 3s to 1. That makes sense, right? 2s and 3s to 1. I feel like that works. 2 minutes until Powell. Just because Powell's going to be on the mic soon, I'm going to preload these orders just so that they're there and ready in case the market just goes freaking crazy. Remember, news could cause it to go up as well. We got 1 minute until news. Understand your risks. Scalpers' objectives are off at that first point. But again, as far as like, that's basically break even from the earlier entries. Now we're effectively just holding this last one to see if we can get more continuation. I think realistically, it makes sense to modify a bit further up to be safe on this next one with the news. But then after that, back down to settlement or around there is a logical point of interest. $10 hits. And nothing. Now, yeah. Now remember, Powell on the microphone testifying and all of that is, it's just, there's kind of a delay, right? It takes him a minute to like walk up to the mic and say something kind of thing. So it's all right. Anyway, 10 o'clock. Feel free to get those last questions in on the YouTube side of things, and we'll roll over into the extended session, get things rocking and rolling from there. I can't believe gold missed me by a tick on that pullback. That just, her. Let's see. Emini here, what kind of news do you look at for the ES 1221? So all of the news that I'm keeping an eye on, if you go to SSFTG and you go into the morning brief, there's an app for that. Hang on one second. There is actually an app for that. You can download it from your browser. But if you go into SSFTG and you go to the morning brief, all of the news that I keep an eye on, I post right here for you. If you are trying to figure out where to get that for yourself, which is totally fine as well, that's investing.com, their economic calendar. I just take a screenshot of it to save you guys the time, because this is the news that I'm going to be watching for the day. So the news that I'm referencing right now is this 10 o'clock Fed Chair Powell. Did I miss your answer on the ES seller's target to settlement? I must have missed the question. Hang on. That, yes, close to settlement. The sellers don't want that target. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I totally just didn't even, it didn't even register in my brain. Yeah, I mean, that would be a logical area of interest. Just remember, the S&P has already completed its major objective to the downside. You know, when we're looking at this, they already, well, you can't see it from the 50-minute chart, but or from the 5-minute chart, but from the 50-minute chart, we had that 5-wave completion to the downside. So it's expected to be a bit choppy or a bit kind of gross. So downside objectives of around settlement or maybe a little bit ahead of it makes sense. Yeah. If it wants to go through, then, you know, hey, see how far they want to go. But all right. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in. And Stephen, if you want to, if you have more to that question, you can just ask in the extended session. So I don't mind rolling over. I am thinking about you, my guy. I got you. So let's roll over to the extended session real quick, and then we'll go from there. But if I miss any questions or anything like that, feel free to shoot me an email, jhb@ssftg.com, or drop them in the comments below on the YouTube side, and I'll get them from there too. Either way, though, I hope you had a great day of trading, and we will see you all tomorrow morning. For the rest of you, if you're hanging out in the members side of things, give me 2 seconds and we'll swap over. All right. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you all later. Thanks. Bye. All right, give me 1 second here. Oh man, I hate when I start typing the like thank you and then it just deletes everything that I was doing. That's awesome. Thanks, YouTube. Really appreciate it. That's awesome. Not like I wanted to say thanks to everybody or anything. It's all good. All right, let me load the this up here, get that there, pop that there, get that in there, drop that down there, pop that down there, and we're ready to rock and roll. All right. NASDAQ trying to figure out what it wants to do. Honestly, it looks like a lot of bulls probably got stuck up at those 860s, not realizing how big of a major POC that was. And now they're just trying to GTFO out of the trade. But it looks like shorts are trying to hold it down on them. Like, nah, you're not getting out of it this time. You stuck your hand in the alligator's mouth. Nice and tasty. Look at all them wicks. That wick on the high, they're reaching. Help! Help, let me out! Never! Down she goes. See if you can break down through the lows. So far, it's been a micro double bottom. Hard to see on the 5-minute chart there, but you can see it on those wicks. Little micro double bottom bouncing down there. Sellers, if they re-upped on the move up, likely just scalping out some more on this move down. They've got to break through the low, and then we'll have the confirmation. Oh, 5-to-1 is huge. Yeah. And it's funny because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The only reason 5-to-1 is so big is because everybody heard that that's what Buffett does. Right. Well, if Buffett does it. So it's just like fibs or anything else that we look at. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy in and of itself. But, you know. Here we go. Here's their stops. Tasty, 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 tasty. Look at them all. All right, I'm going to take that next target off there just ahead of the lows. Let this last one keep rifling down. I love the taste of stops in the morning. I'll stop doing that for everybody. It's like, has that phobia of hearing people's lips smack. They're like, oh, punching holes in their monitor. Beautiful continuation back down. This is the major zone of interest that the market's going to try to maintain and pulse through. Settlement is down here. And again, you know, the area being down there isn't necessarily the definitive target because we have that POC at 810 quarter. If there's too much support off of this, we really have to play it by ear and understand, like, wait a minute, something's up. This is the final runner. This is the icing on the cake. It all depends on how much icing you want it to be. Right now, we're below the 5-to-1 objectives. So the icing's pretty thick right now, and I don't really want to give up too much of that icing. I like my Cool Whip. Get them stops. Oh, there we go. Keep on going. I'm sorry, I did it again. I can't help myself. They're so tasty. A little bit of a pop back up. They're still holding around the POC. Don't lose it by much. We got to get back underneath that. I'm glad someone's picking up on the Family Guy reference. Starting to lose it a little bit here. I'll take that target off there. That is good enough. Thank you. Thank you. Good enough. Everybody's jumping ship not to. They're like, oh, nope, wait a minute. Now, if sellers are looking to re-up into the move, if they're trying to FOMO in, that everybody bailing on it down here is a good spot for them to try to sell into if they've got the orders to back it.